Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Board Game Backwards, where we play games having never read the rules. I'm Shay.
And I'm Cole.
And today we are going to be playing Brass Birmingham.
It's about time.
It is about time. I'm glad I was able to get a hold of it. Brass Birmingham is rated 8.6, so it's up there for sure. It is number 1
Yep.
overall.
Number 1 for strategy also. Like, this is the one.
It's number 17 in the hotness. Like, how this game came out in 2018. It's in the hotness.
Still as hot as
it's
ever.
number 1. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. So the time limit is 60 to 120 minutes. I'm gonna assume it'll probably be closer to the 60 side with 2 people
Sure.
and more 120 with 4. The weight is 3.89. So really not that heavy, medium heavy. For a number 1 game, I don't know, for whatever reason I'd almost expect it to be like 4.5.
My perception of this game has always been like, this is the most complicated that a game can be. And so to see that, I have a little more hope for what we're about to get ourselves into today.
Yeah, so when I think of a game that's really high up there, that's really hard, Twilight Imperium.
Exactly.
Because I don't really know anything about Twilight Imperium, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on it eventually.
When we're ready to spend an entire Saturday doing this.
240 to 480 minute game.
Yes.
But that weight is 4.3. So just when you have to add that weight and the time, that's
when you're getting into something.
That's a lot. All right. So Brass Birmingham is designed by Gavin Brown, Matt Tolman, and Martin Wallace, and published by Roxley. And when I go to Roxley's website for Brass Birmingham,
yeah,
it is currently sold out.
No way. A 2018 game.
A 2018 game, and it is sold out.
All right.
Not only you might expect that from like the deluxe, but no, retail too, sold out.
Whew.
So we better have a freaking good time, is all I have to say.
I'm excited.
So let's open the box. It's a really small box.
Yeah, kind of narrow.
Thin, yeah.
I see money.
The money's cool looking.
Oh.
1, 5, and 15, which is an interesting jump. Okay, looks like there's some character tiles here.
Classic.
Ooh. I definitely want to be this guy. With his mutton chops and his receding hairline.
Vaguely Martin Van Buren. Very simple card designs.
Mm-hmm.
With not a lot of helping information.
Like when you look at the board, you have train tracks. And you have rivers. So I should say I do not know at all how to play this game. But I do remember a while ago watching a gameplay of it. So there are a few things that I am at least familiar with. Like, I know that beer comes into the equation for some reason. I know people joke about the beer all the time.
Okay.
I know it's right down here at the bottom left, but I don't know how it's used, what it's for. But I think all of these wooden things are the beer barrels.
Okay, so it's an up to 4-player game. We have 4 different colored circles, 4 different colored hexes, and the trains are also 4 different colors.
You'll take gray, because your guy's gray.
I'd love it.
I'll take purple, even though it's my least favorite color.
Good idea. And then I'm also going to take all of the white, gray, boats and trains over here.
Yep. I think you're right.
There's some purple.
Yep. The only thing with all of these tiles...
Oh, they're also color coordinated.
A quadrillion tiles. Well, I think you're right, though, about the colors with the trains and the boats. That makes sense. But with these tiles being like black and yellow and red and gray, I think, like, I'm looking at the cards, and the cards have these colors. Except for blue. There's not any blue, is there? So are we supposed to have our own stacks? We might.
Whew. It's possible.
We might.
Might as well.
Let's go through. And then once we have them all, we can, like, compare each of ours.
If we each have, like, the same kinds of tokens.
Okay, so we have our tiles. They have all these Roman numerals on them. So I'm wondering if they stack. If you flip them over, that's where the half black, half color comes in.
They also have diagrams of hexes and a connector. So if we are using like trains to transport whatever it is that we're transporting, that's gonna have something to do with it.
Our individual player board, it shows all of these. So it looks like we just stack them. Would be my guess.
Sure.
We just stack them on each of these things.
And yeah, they have
all the numbers.
Yeah.
So our 1 crates go there. 2 goes there. I think you just like buy them or something and they give a better bonus.
There are smokestacks, sewing machines, coal trucks, hotels, ale, and a crate of something. A crate. All right, let's turn the attention to the cards here.
Yeah.
What can be gained? Let's see. This is a card shaped.
Yep. I was gonna say there's this little
awesome,
like sign, hanging metal sign thing with card spaces.
Right now they're really well organized because it's the first time we've opened the game. But
you know what?
I feel like we're gonna need to shuffle them.
Yeah, we can shuffle the cards. But one thing I just noticed is I bet our person goes on the barrels on the left here, and I bet this is like turn order.
Yep.
Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 barrels, and our circles fit perfectly next to them.
That's a great one.
We got our turn order tracker. Around the whole entire board is a point tracker. You can even go negative, apparently. Okay.
So as we get resources, right, barrels are kept track over here. The coal trucks are going to be black cubes, and the textile or sewing machine is going to be the orange cubes over here.
Yeah.
So what else don't we know?
Only
hotels, smokestacks.
So I've seen like the coal carts show cubes. I noticed that when I was same thing with the sewing machines. They have the orange cubes. So I guess like you buy one of these and then you get the cubes from over there, or where do you put the cubes? Well, it looks like I guess cubes can be used to buy other things. Now here's my thought.
Okay.
So on my board, I chose to have all my tiles on the solid color. On your board, you laid yours half. So I was looking at that, trying to see like, is there a way I could tell like what the purpose is and which one to do? But next to each tile, it shows what's on the back. It shows that link icon, the up arrow money icon, and then I'm assuming like maybe a victory point icon or something.
That's true.
So I'm thinking it's probably supposed to be on the solid side, but if you want to know what's on the back, you can see it next to it. Yeah, I can tell you right now, we're not even going to come remotely close to the rules. There's no way. There is no way. Way too complicated.
Hey man, the fact that we're figuring out as much as we are.
Because there is no text. Well, it seems to me like we always get pretty close on the setup. But then after that, it just all goes to crap.
Yeah, even cards a lot of times will kind of walk you through some stuff. Like
not these ones.
This looks like a wild card to me.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is that we're actually supposed, like, are we supposed to collect certain numbers of cards, and that allows us to activate the tiles, which allow us to then...
Well, obviously the goal is to get victory points. So we just have to figure out how do we get them.
Oh yeah, so some of these cards are just... This is a resource. This is Catan. That's a resource card. That's a resource card.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the 5 different resources. You got crate, house...
6, I guess.
6? Yeah. House, textile, crate, coal, smokestack, and beer. All the essentials for 1700's life.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after those and these wild cards, then you have specific locations. Okay, so maybe the cards just allow you to get to that location? Like you have to have the card before you go there?
Or either that, or it's like you lay a tile there if you have the card.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering if to actually move, you have to spend like a coal or a beer.
You definitely need a beer.
It shows on the bottom of the board to move.
Like
shows arrows.
Top hat is going to refer to your character, right? So like you need a beer to move your character up the pecking order over here.
Yeah, you might be right on that. Could be.
Where is this is called Brass Birmingham, and there is a Birmingham card. So where's Birmingham? Is our goal to get to Birmingham?
Well, here's Birmingham.
It seems to be the hub.
I don't think the goal is to get there, but it's just like I think Birmingham's just the large city in the area.
All right, so yeah, how are we getting points?
I don't know. What's confusing me a little bit is the points on that side of the board are just circles. But then there are
everywhere else it seems to be hexes.
Yeah, I'm seeing black hexagons outlined with golds, and it has a number on the inside, which kind of leads me to think that it's points. But then again, why are there money symbols next to the levels? It's one of two things. You either spend the money to get there, or you get the money for reaching that point. Yeah. I'm thinking it's probably the latter.
Yeah, because some of the point ranges are just in clumps.
Actually, no, it's definitely that way. Because when you're at level 0, it says -10. Money? I'm wondering if we start at level 10 with no money.
Okay.
When you level up, you gain that money for whatever spot you land on. And then you can lose money if you sacrifice points. So, okay, well, if you can... Do you like spend? How do you lose points? That's what I don't see indicated. Let's say that the black hexes are victory points.
Mm-hmm.
The symbol with the coins and the up arrow, I'm assuming you get that money. Do you see that symbol?
Yes.
That looks like money to me.
Where else do we see? Is there anywhere where we see hexes on the board that we would put our hex token to keep track of anything? Because this, unless you keep track of money and points independently, which I like the way we were doing it first, where it's just in a bracket and you get that amount.
I doubt it.
So, but where would these hex?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because I didn't think about that.
Let's see. I saw there's a hex token here and a hex token over here, just like
but again, that's
on the board. But that's
we have all those hex tokens on our individual boards for each spot, which I think is just victory points. Yeah, where does this token go? Would it go in like these areas that have like a empty spot and it says 2, 3, or 4 on it?
Oh yeah, maybe you've claimed. That's how we keep track of where we are as we're driving around.
Maybe this is our moving token.
Yeah.
To actually like go to places.
But you put your train or your boat, right? Train on train tracks, boat on the river. To get from one place to the like this is how you travel.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm guessing that we put our tokens in the cities that match the symbol. And I don't get it though.
Let's start in Birmingham. That's the hub. That's where the most stuff is. It's called Brass Birmingham.
We'd probably start in like these spots that show player icons.
I mean, maybe you can only move into those places to get that stuff if there are that many players. Yeah, when you move in here, you get 4 points and a barrel. If we could move up here, we get 5 points. Or maybe you exchange
beer for points. Yeah. Like I'm only seeing one spot to get beer. Maybe.
All right.
There's only one spot no, there's beer everywhere. Beer there, beer there.
Well, we start with $5 because I feel like we should start with some money.
Yeah, definitely.
This is trading.
These little handshake. Oh. No, these I forgot about these tokens. These, like, I don't know, how would you describe this shape? Rounded
Semicircle?
arch sort of tokens. These fit in these player spots.
So
and
maybe
some of these have player indicators on them too.
Maybe these are the ports in Catan, where you can like move around what you're trading, 3 for 1 or 4 for 1.
Seriously.
All right, take a big swing. What's a big guess? I say we start in Birmingham, and we got to go from there. What would you? What do you say the next move is?
Well, let's just randomly.
I did my part.
These.
Yeah, on wherever
arch tokens just in places.
Should I deal some cards? Is now the time to shuffle?
That's what I'm thinking, that the cards are going to be dealt. The fact that they have the same back, I wonder if they're supposed to be together.
Do we shuffle
but I just don't know why there's 3.
Yeah, I'd rather keep them separate
deck
for now.
spots. Unless cards like that.
Yeah, I have a card, and then I'm gonna
go there or something.
Activate my trap card right there.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just supposed to be shuffled together.
Is this the most befuddled you've been in the pre-stage?
I would say I've been just as lost and confused as other games that we've attempted, but this one is the most it has the most components for how confused I am.
Very true.
So it's just as hard, but now it's harder because there's more to be unsure about.
Yep. Good setup tactic.
I don't know what to do with the orange cubes. I don't know what to do with the black cubes.
I mean, if it is Ticket to Righty, you know, with the connecting places, maybe we shuffle out these cards, and that's the destination we need to try to get to. Because you got your like goal cards in Ticket to Ride, right? You gotta get from Seattle to New York, and you get 20 points. So there you go.
3 cards. All right.
And then on your turn, you get resources. You use those resources to turn into trains and boats. You get to your locations. You get points for ticking off places. Some places give you certain other resources. You claim them.
Okay. Well, obviously, we want to get to where we need to go. The only way to get there is by a boat or a train.
Right.
The only way to get a boat or a train is to have a black cube. The only way to get a black cube is to buy a cart.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend my 5. And now I have my cart. I'm not I don't know what to think about the underside.
Maybe it does start on the side that I was on, and then you flip it to activate it. Like now you know you.
But they have different symbols though. Because the one side says you get 2 links, 4 coins, and a victory point, versus the other side says you get 2 coal. Unless you get both, you take the 2 coal and then you flip it over, and you also get the other stuff.
Yeah, maybe the stuff's like No. Well.
Also, I feel like I would have to put this on the board, but Birmingham doesn't have a coal cart.
That's right, we forgot about. Yeah, you take this and you put them in the squares that fit. But also, there's nothing that says, "Oh, this is white. That's purple." Yeah, that says that that's mine. So that is how we claim it. But in Birmingham, you can only have a crate, or a house, or a textile.
Mm-hmm. And you can't even acquire textiles without coal. You can't acquire crates without coal.
You can get your first house.
You can get a house.
It's $12.
Yeah. Like I just have No idea. Well, how about I bought it and I flip it over and I take. Oh, see, but now I'm wondering if to take coal, if you also have to pay a price to even take it. And it gets more expensive as you go. And once you run out of all the coal, then it costs 8 to just get 1 for the rest of the game.
That makes sense.
Because then I have no money for nothing. Well, I'm just gonna. This is so dumb. I'm just gonna do all the things. At this point, it's
Well, remember when you bought this for 5, did you get your 4 coins?
no, because
your
the
one
problem
level?
is it's like, do you do both sides?
Yeah, of course.
Well, at this point, I was
you need to get
about to
something.
say, we're gonna have to play that way, otherwise nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I go up 1 level,
Yeah, you got a point. Shay's
which
winning.
gives me a coin and then 4 other coins, so I get 5.
Great.
So 5 coin.
2. You got a 2 rail.
2 but I don't know
thing.
what that means. Like, does that mean I get to just place? I don't know what the linking symbol means. Unless you need. No.
There's so much.
I don't know. Let's ignore it. So I want to go to. I don't know. I want to go to Worcester. So I have to acquire black coal, which my cart lets me buy 2, I guess. So I pay what, 3 or 2, 1 for each.
Yeah.
So I get those. Now it's more expensive for you to get coal. So I spend 1, and then I place a. I'm gonna do a boat because they're cooler looking. And now I'm in Worcester, which I have my card for.
Achievement done.
Sure. I feel like it probably indicates that I could build there, but at this point, who cares? Cool. I feel like I accomplished nothing, and that I'm gonna be very stuck next round. But sure, that'll conclude my turn. Go for it, Cole.
It's not a very great game if it's drawn out that that's the only thing I can do. But the only thing that does not require coal is getting coal. So I'll spend my 5 coin also. Get 4 back and the level, so it's 5. Just like Shay. And so you didn't get 2 coal. You just you specifically bought it, even though
it shows the coal symbol, but I feel like you still have to buy it.
All right. So I'll buy mine, and it's pricier. I'll just buy 1 though. That way I've still got $3. And then cash in that coal to get. I'm gonna take the train to Tamworth, where I can get more coal, because Tamworth is the coal capital of 1770 Black Country Britain. Boom! I have the Tamworth card, and I'm there.
All right.
What a riveting game.
Yeah, number 1 for sure. Okay, so my turn. Well, I can no longer buy any tokens.
No, I think at the start of every turn you get a coin, because you've moved into that coin bracket.
I think it's just when you go there.
But you need to get money.
How to get money? I have no clue. This is stupid.
Well, you have a coal, so if you had 2 more bucks, you could get a little sewing machine.
Yeah, but I can't get 2 more bucks. can't even come up with stupid rules
Also,
to get this game going.
So, what do you think we're playing to? Even
I don't know how it ends.
This is more of a scoring track that it's just like whoever's highest at the end of the game wins. But what triggers endgame?
Right.
By our
no clue.
By our dumb rules, it's like, get to your 3 things, but that's not it.
Right. I think it was Nidavellir or Nidavellir, however you say it. I think if I'm remembering right, I feel like we really struggled with that one. We had to come up with stupid rules. But at least like we just did it. But I still try to make the stupid rules sort of make sense. I can't even think of anything stupid to keep going.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. Every time I try to come up with something, it just doesn't make sense. Because I'm looking at like this river, and it shows a river, shows 3 coins. Okay. So what? Like I spend 3 coins, but then where does the ship come in?
3 coins in the fountain. It's
it's.
I'm in Tamworth, and Tamworth has 2 spaces. One's a coal space. So can I put my coal cart on that in Tamworth and claim Tamworth as my own? Now I get coal perpetually from Tamworth every turn. Like I've unlocked the ability to buy that, but then how do I get money?
Right.
The economy eludes us.
Yes. I think we might just have to take the L.
Whew. Tie game. 11-11. You can't squeeze any more points out?
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think that episode 9 is going to be the first real episode where I am just taking the L, and I'm just saying we can't even make up our own rules. Like, we can't. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm shocked that we couldn't come up with something. There's just way too much going on. 0 words explaining anything, and infinity symbols. I couldn't be more lost.
Yeah, if we at some point have our own grading scale of like how easy it is to set up, how easy it is to figure things out, how the board and the component pieces guide you through, this is a 1 out of 25 out of like guiding us through it, because the only words, like you said, the only words on the whole thing are the names of these British towns.
Right. And like I mentioned, like we've done episodes in the past where there was no words to go on. But I mean, even just our last episode, there were no words, but I wasn't overwhelmed whatsoever. We made up our own rules. It wasn't a big deal. We got some things right, some things wrong. But for the most part, like, it wasn't too bad. So it's not even the lack of words. It's the lack of words and the overwhelming amount of symbols and uncertainty of where to start. What do you think, Cole? Should we read the rules?
We should read the rules.
I want my head to be filled with knowledge and not uncertainty.
For the record, Dune Imperium has a weight of 3.02. So our range for how complex it can be and us still have a shot is somewhere under 3.89. But we can do more than 3.02. It's going to be like in that 3.5 range, right, where we really get stumped.
But again, like, I feel like a game, I don't know. Maybe we will find out how the weight comes into play with our trying to figure out the game. Because I feel like a game, I'm wondering if it's possible for a game to have a high weight, but us to still figure it out. It's just a hard game, but I'm thinking probably not. I feel like they might be connected.
Yeah. And also, like, BGG grades him out of a 5 scale.
Right.
And so for this to be almost a full 1 above Dune Imperium, which is like decently weighty. Like that's kind of my sweet spot for games that I just generally enjoy, is probably around that 3. For this to be almost a 4, it makes sense that we struggled the way we did.
Yeah, we'll have to see on a future episode when we do like a 4 or a 4.5. Oh, so these are
it's just all the cards.
These
in the
orange
universe.
cubes are iron.
Really?
Yes. And we have our coal, and we have our... Oh, yep, so we have income markers and victory point markers. We have our money, we have our beer. The handshake are merchants. Separate the wild's location and wild industry cards and place them face up on 2 of the card draw areas. So the wild decks get their own. Interesting.
And there's wild locations? Is that these cards?
Yep.
Okay.
Shuffle the remaining cards and place them face down on the remaining card draw area. This is the draw deck.
So all of these together.
We take 17 pounds from the bank.
More than 5.
The game is played over 2 eras, the Canal era and the Rail era. Interesting.
Okay.
The winner is the player who has the most victory points. Following the end of the Rail era, victory points are scored at the end of each era for your link tiles and flipped industry tiles. Each era is played in rounds, which continue until both the draw deck and players' hands are exhausted. There are exactly 8, 9, 10 rounds per era and a 4th, so there's 10 rounds in a 2-player game. For each action, you may choose to perform one of the following. The crate is build. Place 1 of your industry tiles onto the board. So these are industry tiles.
Mm-hmm.
Paying the appropriate cost and consuming any required coal/iron. Network, so you can expand your canal or rail network by adding link tiles to the board. Develop, gain access to higher level industries by removing industry tiles from your player mat. Sell, flip your built cotton mill, manufacture, and or pottery tiles by selling to a merchant and consuming beer if necessary. After all players have taken their turn, perform the following steps before moving on to the next round. You determine the turn order for the next round, so the player who spent the least money this round will go first.
Okay.
You gain a victory point for each link tile, and you score 1 victory point for each link displayed in adjacent locations. So if you were built in Birmingham, then you would get 2 victory points.
But so do we put these on the board? And so this would be a link that's adjacent?
Coal is required to build rail links and certain industry tiles. To consume coal, a rail link or industry tile must be connected to a source of coal. Coal must be consumed from the closest connected unflipped coal mine. If multiple coal mines are equally close, choose one. If a coal mine runs out of coal and you need more, choose the next closest coal mine. Consuming coal in this way is free. If you are not connected to an unflipped coal mine, you can purchase coal from the coal market. At this point, I'm wondering, like, should we just watch a video?
So, just to give reference, that's what I'm looking up right now.
Watch it play.
The how to play on Space Base, which we did last week. There's one learn to play that's 5 minutes, another how to play that's 14. The how to play for Brass Birmingham is 33 minutes and 31 seconds. Watch it played.
Watch it played 30 minutes, you said?
33 minutes. Yep.
That's not bad. Compared to some of those other videos I've watched.
So yeah, let's do that.
All right, Rodney. Teach us.
Finally, we come to the scout action, where unlike the previous actions, you will not discard just 1, but instead 3 non-wild cards from your hand, placing them face up into your discard pile. You then take 1 wild location. The tied players share the victory. And with that, you now know how to play Brass Birmingham.
Well, I will say that Rodney Smith did a much better job than the instruction book was doing. But that was a lot.
As usual.
That was a lot. Holy smokes. What do you think? You feel confident?
Like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We have read the rules. I am a little overwhelmed. I'm confident we're going to have a good time. We're going to get through it. But I think there's going to be a lot of rule checking to remind myself of how to play.
The 3.89 weight feels heavy on us right now.
Yeah, so we are going to go ahead and play. If you want to watch how we played, how well we did, if we enjoyed it, then feel free to watch the playthrough over on our Patreon, or you can watch the playthrough on the subscribed content on Spotify. So we are going to dive in, and we will come back, and we'll talk about it. All right, everyone, we are back after a very slow and grueling start. I think we got the hang of it by the end.
Oh, phase 2 rail era flew by.
It did. Okay, now we were definitely playing it wrong.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode.
Yes. So, the final score was 147 to 146.
Probably more than a couple beginners
so
should have.
Cole done beated me by 1 point. However, what I want to say is, so you're probably wondering, how'd you play it wrong? Well, if you really want to see how we were playing it wrong, feel free to go and watch. But
and also there's probably more places where we played it wrong if we watch the whole footage back than
I mean, I feel like it was just the one thing, which was every time we placed a tile on the board,
yeah,
and then we sold that tile, we immediately counted the victory points. It's not how you play. You count the victory points at the end, so that way if in one era you upgrade and sell multiple times, you still only get the points once.
Yep.
So all that being said, had we played correctly, I would have lost by more. Well, because when you think about it,
I did it a couple times in the first round, though.
But it doesn't matter because I did it way more than you. You did way more
in the second round,
like a ton. The
those 20,
the
that's
kiln
right.
thing, whatever.
Yeah,
I did it 4 times. That is a lot of points.
But did you get this one and this one both in this era? No.
I did it. I probably got to like level 3 in the first era and then level 2 in the second.
Yeah.
But regardless, I did it a lot more. I did it to my beer. I did it to my coal. I did it to like whatever the kiln things are.
Yeah.
All I know is I did the upgrade sell thing more than you, which means I got more points than you. So really, had we been playing correctly, not only would our score be significantly lower, like a lot lower, but you would have a greater lead. I don't know if it would be like by a ton.
No.
But you would have gained a lead there.
Yeah.
So, Cole, hot take. What'd you think of it?
Okay, after the first era, I was like ready to quit. Like there's alternate rules on the back that says like for your first time, if you just want to play the Canal era, like here's extra ways to score. And I was like, man, this is taking forever. I still don't feel like I know what we're doing. And then that second era hit, and we had strategy. We knew, like, I stumbled in. The reason I won is because I was building more canals in that first round, and you realize that just those points multiply if you can get the canals in between all of these like big connector rail things. I accidentally did that in the first round because I just thought you had to be connected for everything, and it's only 3 points per canal, and so I was just like throwing three coin everywhere. I was low on money the whole first round, but then I got all those points at the end of the round, and I was like, okay, this second round I'm going to buy like those 15 at a time in one take.
Yeah.
And make sure I like solidify my roads. And yeah, that's second era, rail era, buzzed on by. Feel way better. Like flipped a switch.
Yeah.
About the whole game. All in all, like, I don't know, all in all, still was weighty. Like, it's tough for over half of a game to feel like it's that much of a slog and a struggle. But it came through, I think.
Yeah. I, like, very similar experience. I would say the learning of this game was by far the hardest game
painful
we've done on this podcast so far. It was more than Castles of Burgundy, and we went to that rule book a lot. But it was every single time we weren't playing and the other person was going, it was here.
Hey, hand me the rule book.
it was the whole first era. It was nothing but reading the rule book.
Yeah.
So that was rough, really, really rough. But once we got into that second era, it just, I just lit up. Like it went from kind of excruciating to just fun.
Yes.
And what's so weird to me is I feel like in so many ways this game isn't much different than the Castles of Burgundy. There's a billion different ways to make points. You have the main board, you have a separate board, you're putting tiles in all these different places to earn all of this money, all these different things to collect victory points. Like just, it felt like there was as much strategy to this as there was to the Castles of Burgundy, but I don't know what it is. I just like this, and I hated that. Just something about this clicked for me different. I feel like there were some fun opportunities to get in each other's way.
True. Things that I didn't take advantage of, right? We'll get into talking about how this played 2 players versus how we think it could like pull out to 3 or 4. But early on, I was like, in the first phase, I was just trying to be nice because I remember like you're only supposed to have 1 per those like 2 guys. In the second round, like when I placed here, my brain was, okay, I want to block you from being able to have the option. Like I started playing with strategy, but then it didn't end up even like coming to fruition over here. And turns out in the second round, you can like double up on your own pieces in the 2 squares. But yeah, all that strategy, all that like trying to mess with each other started to click.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you with the whole like boat and train path thing. That one is a huge point maker, so I think that's important. But I love how this game truly did feel like there were a lot of different strategies, and give it a try and you might win. Like, it didn't seem like there was necessarily the strategy, you know, because I've played a lot of games where there's one strategy that kind of seems like that's the main one. Yeah, technically you could follow a couple of different smaller strategies, but really you're probably not going to have much luck. But I felt like with this one, you could go any direction you wanted. It's really cool to see how, like, for example, I kind of went more the route where I went with like these smokestack things that were worth a ton of points in conjunction with the beer barrels. Because every time you sell, you need beer. And so I was able to just work on those 2 most of the time, whereas you used like all of your coal and a ton of your like brick buildings, which I didn't use any of my brick, period. None of those buildings.
I got worried that I had like overplayed my hand at one point because I was playing so much coal out there that I almost never had to use from the supply. But the couple times that you did, then when you played your 1 coal, you were able to fill it up. You had like the right timing on when to put that coal out there to immediately, like, I was looking, end game, you're looking for those places where you can, like, place and sell on the same turn, essentially. And a coal, when you can fill up the, like, empty coal slots, like, you don't technically sell your coal, but that's a buy and a sell, flipping it over in the same turn. That was awesome.
Right. Yeah, so tons of strategy, but boy, it is an insane learning curve. And I'm trying to remember, but I feel like a lot of people have mentioned that. But for a gamer like me, and I'm not going to speak for you, but for me personally, I don't mind. Like I can push through and I can get past it. I don't really get very frustrated. Like, yeah, it was frustrating, but I wasn't like, I know people where they shut down. It's not just kind of like, oh, this is frustrating, there's so much to learn. It's kind of like they become a statue. They withdraw in themselves. They're bored. They want to leave. They hate it.
Yeah.
They're toned out. They're not listening to what you have to say anymore. They're not putting any effort in. So if you have the stamina to learn this game, I think it's worth it. If it wasn't like, if we were doing this on a Saturday and we had like 5 more hours, of like, let's go again.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it. We know the rules. This was fun. And I think too, I don't think it's going to be quite like riding a bike. If you leave this game for too long, you're going to have to learn a lot.
Yeah.
But if you and your friend group, if you like to play this game and it comes out every once in a while, relatively frequent, then you're going to remember most of it. And even if you don't remember, chances are one of your buddies remembers the rules. And so you're going to have fun. You're going to fly through it. So I feel like if you like this, if you think you're going to like this game, then as long as you play it semi-frequently, then it's going to be a hit for you. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. But if you don't have a dedicated game group, I'm talking if you're playing with, a couple that you met down the street, or you're playing with your siblings and they're not big into this,
or
the
your
hobby.
uncle that only breaks out like sequence and Uno, right? Like,
yeah, like
this ain't for them.
Please, I beg you, do not teach them this game.
Don't put them through it. It's not going to be a good experience for anyone. Like, we're all about, I feel like our podcast niche, right, is the rule book and the learning of the game process. We do it in like a fun, goofy way. This rule book, the learning of this game was more obtuse than any game that I've ever played. And you go back to when we were first looking at like the weight being a 3.89. This truly is like a brand new tier of confusing to learn that I have not played before.
Yeah.
Like, there's, you got Sequence and Uno at the bottom, and then like Catan or whatever, and then those fun games that are like in our sweet spot of like Terraforming Mars or like Wingspan, the really fun like tier 3 that you feel like you could teach to someone else. This goes above and beyond that. And so, the rulebook itself, we found it more easier to listen to a playthrough of a video of someone explaining it to us. And even like for one of us to explain to someone else just feels like a hard experience.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, now, so say you're listening to this and you think, okay, well, I do think this is going to be a hit with my friends.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fun game. It looks like a fun game. I want to give it a shot. What do you recommend? Okay, this is what I recommend. Do not teach this yourself. I was on Reddit earlier today and someone was asking about, how do you teach games? And I went on there and I said, just don't teach it yourself. You need to just let someone like Rodney Smith over at Watch It Played. That's like his career. He does it for a living. Let someone that teaches board games for a living and they've spent hours distilling the rule book down into an easily digestible meal. Like, let them do the work. Just the other night, I was trying to play a new game with my wife, and I read the rule book, and so then I tried to explain it to her, and she got confused because even though I've been in the hobby for a couple of years, and I've even made a couple of YouTube videos on how to play a few games, and I've gone through that process of distilling it and all of that stuff. Unless I'm spending a lot of time reading and rereading the rule book and deciding what order to go in, it's just not. She would have been better off had she either done like the playthrough game on the app or watched a video. So if you want to teach someone how to play this game, go over to Watch It Played, find the video of this game, have the person watch it, and then you can answer any of their questions that come up afterward.
Or just watch the first half of this podcast where we're explaining it in the entirely wrong way.
When we gave up, and you will have nothing to go off of. That's what's so crazy is, like, I'm trying to think back before we even knew how to play. And, like, if it's daunting, it's a lot. Like, how else are you supposed to know like how the cards work in conjunction with costs and how you put them and how you sell them.
And you saw it so early. Like, this is obviously the cost on the left-hand side, but the only thing that doesn't cost coal is coal. And so we were both like, okay, well, we have to build coal somehow. First, we didn't realize that you can even just, like, use a supply of coal over here that costs money. We kind of set these up, but we didn't know what to do with them on the right side of the board. Like, just little things that absolutely broke the experience without understanding what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, I want to say part of the other reason why I say watch the video instead is the rule book got I felt like I was being waterboarded. Like it was all this information was coming at me, and all I felt like I was drowning. It didn't seem like an easy to follow rule book. It seemed really confusing. It didn't feel linear, like they would try to explain something that I didn't even necessarily understand yet because I hadn't gotten to that point yet.
And even Rodney in his video will, like, set up half the board in order to be able to explain how anything works. You have to go a little bit out of order. And so, like, in paper form, that's a lot harder than watching a 30-minute YouTube video. For how complicated this game is, like, the rulebook is really easy to go back and reference. Like, they make it real quick to see what you're supposed to do mid-game. But to start dry, like, at some point, there are some games that are just so complicated that like, anything other than a 50-page novel is not going to cut it for explaining it through.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I just, time and time again, I feel like I come back to in each episode when there's more of a hard rule book is it almost seems to me like, okay, so here's an analogy. Car designers, they come up with a perfect design for a car. But in their head, they never think that the car is going to break. To them, it's a perfect vehicle.
Right.
So then a car eventually is going to break. And then the mechanics are stuck trying to get into certain parts of the car that were not engineered properly to get them in.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes there's a plate in front of a bolt that you need to get to, and you're screwed. And I feel like sometimes board game designers forget that you have to someone that doesn't know how the game works, has never played the game, if they try to read it the way you had envisioned because you understand the game perfectly and you have it organized for each aspect of the game, well, it's not linear. It's not going in order of how a person should learn. It's just separating it into its individual chunks, and you're left trying to figure it out. So I feel like board game designers would be better off thinking to themselves, okay, it's not about putting all the build actions on one page and all these other, like, it needs to be, okay, how is a person best going to learn and how do I organize it?
So this is where I think I disagree a little bit, but for a different reason, right? So this is just how I approach this idea. Kudos out there to Roxley, the game designer, because at the front of Rodney's video, he said, hey, they sent me this. This is sponsored by this board game company. I'm going to teach you how to play. I feel like a good rule book should just kind of be a reference guide. Like, it should be able to be an easy to flip in the middle of the game and see all of my build actions right there in front of me so that I can reference while I'm trying to do something in the moment. That initial learning phase at this point, and again, for this complicated board game, kind of just needs to be given over to the expert and in a long form YouTube video, which they've done. Like, that's a very like, you scratch your back, I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing. Like, Roxley sends it over to Rodney so that they can get some awareness out for their game and so that they can, have a good distilled, well explained version of the rules. But then also Rodney gets like views on his channel, and that's his income, and that's how he makes money.
Right.
So like, everyone is kind of being serviced in a good way, and then they don't have to put so much time in the rule book, because at the end of the day, most games are being explained either through a YouTube video or a YouTube video of people playing an entire thing like we do here for you on our Patreon, or just, the worst version is your friend just trying to explain it to you. For this complicated a game, we don't recommend it, but like, you're breaking out Catan. I'm pretty sure you and I could explain Catan to a couple people.
Yeah, and that is a good point. They do, even on their cover of the rule book, they do say, if you're more of a visual learner, go to our website and you can watch the video there. I think that's a good point. One thing though that I did like about Space Base is I feel like it was an organized rule book. They did it properly, just like any other game. But at the very beginning, they almost seemed to give a brief explanation of how the game operated before they then went into all the pieces.
That was a stellar rule book. That's true. It can be done.
So I feel like it might be a couple more pages, but in a game that's so complicated as this, it might have been wise for them to have had a couple of pages that just very simply went over in a linear way how the game operates.
Yes.
So then when you start to read and learn, you have a grasp of how the game works, and so you're not in the dark.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah, but I think for the most part, the artwork isn't too bad. I think for it being a game that takes place in like the new Industrial Revolution period, it could have been dull and grim. And I feel like with that being the case, they did a decent job. It's not super vibrant, but you wouldn't want it to be. It wouldn't fit with the theme, and it's not too dull. There could be a couple tweaks here and there, but for the most part, I feel like it's a really good design.
Agreed. The other, like, the play pieces feel really good, right? The cardboard's thick enough, card stock very well done. Again, this is one where you're handling a lot of the pieces a ton anyway, so they're gonna hold up over time. All the coin, everything's like, good consistency. Very limited numbers of just like hard wood pieces, right? The little beer barrels, the coal and the steel. But yeah, everything was really good.
Well, and I like how they have a night side and a day side. Just kind of, I mean, Is
it going to be the same map?
It's the same.
Like the exact same map?
Yeah.
Like things are...
Yeah, no,
because that could have been an opportunity, right? Would you have liked it if there was... If the place... I guess the places can't be in different places because it's literally... This is based on a real...
Right.
This is Birmingham.
I feel like...
and the surrounding townships.
I feel like they could have changed what's in what city.
They really don't. Let's see. Bell Pepper has those three. Yep, that's exactly the same. Leek has those two things. That's exactly the same. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they're all the same. It's really just an artistic thing. Which I don't understand. I like that it's two-sided. You're taking advantage of both sides of the board, and I like how they have a night and a day that's cool, but they could have taken a little bit more liberty in making some small adjustments so that there's even more replayability.
Right.
But I mean, there is unlimited replayability with this game because it's a strategy game.
For sure.
I think What would I rate this game? That is a hard question. I think right now I'll just give it a solid 8. But I do think that after some more plays, maybe also with 3 players, with 4 players, where you're getting in each other's way, which I love games that do that, I think I could see that score go up.
I very much agree, but also I'm trying to think of a game where on my first play it was a 9 or a 10. Like when I watch a movie or read a book or even playing a video game, right? Almost right away I know if I love it. Whereas board games sometimes take like the 3rd or 4th play before you really realize how many ways you can win and all the different nuances and strategy that's hiding in there. And so for right out of the gate, and especially how slow it started, for it to be around an 8 out of 10, I think that's really high praise. It's number 1 for a reason. Let's not kid ourselves.
So what number are you saying?
I'll say 8.
8.
I'll say 8. That's a really good number.
All right. Sweet. Well, you heard it here, folks. We just after our first playthrough, we have an 8, and I mean, just halfway through the game, we enjoyed it a lot more.
Yes.
So playing a full game with like 4 people, everyone knows how to play. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I agree.
All right, awesome. Well, this was definitely a challenge.
Whew.
I do not look forward to trying and figuring out the rules to a game that's like a 4.3.
Yeah, this humbled you, right? Like, so this is 3.89 on complexity, on weight. I don't know how we do anything higher. Like, looking back at Dune Imperium being like in the low 3s, that felt hard at the time, but we got it once we read the rules. Anything in the 4s is... I feel like we're just gonna give up. Like we're gonna set it all up.
And we gave up with this.
Even the setup, like if it gets harder than this, maybe we won't get the setup. The setup we got. We put all those things in the right spots.
We did good. We did good on the setup.
Gosh, I'm picturing a 4 just being even more ambiguous and more little tokens or cards or anything.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yep. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you enjoyed it, you have any praise you want to give, by all means, on whatever platform you're using to watch and listen to this, please give us a review. It'll help other people who want to listen to this podcast find it. If you want to watch our playthrough, check out our Patreon, or you can subscribe if you are listening on Spotify, and you can watch us play there. And our Patreon, we also have weekly polls. We have our Discord where you can engage with us and engage with members of the community. So there's a lot out there that we're trying to offer you, and we hope you take advantage. All right, well, we will hopefully have you all listen in our next episode.
All right, see you later.